Hello everyone, I am Advait Kauta and today we are going to be starting the first chapter in class 8 geography. So the first chapter is all about resources. So in this chapter we will be looking at three things. First, what makes any substance a resource? Is raw wood a resource? Second is, what are the types of resources? And finally, we'll be looking at how do we conserve resources. So let's start off with what makes any substance a resource. So there are two basic concepts which make any substance a resource: value and utility. So let's start off by understanding what value is. When I say value, I mean pure commercial value, something that I can sell in the market and earn money for it. So if I can sell something and make money out of it, then it classifies as a resource. So let's take the example of how I started the video. Is raw wood a resource? Some might say that if I sell it in the market, then yes, I'll probably get money out of it because there are a ton of outsourcing businesses which do that. But that is when the second factor comes in, which influences this first factor. The second factor is utility. How well can it be used? If the utility is high, the value automatically increases. So raw wood it does have a lot of utility. It does have utility, but it is not that easy to use, and so its value is not high. Because its utility is not high, its value is equally not high. So that's why these are the two factors which influence any resource. If any resource has a utility and has a value, then that is when we can call that substance a resource. So here when we talk about value, people usually confuse value with two terms. यहाँ पे दो terms है which people always get confused between. What is value versus what is worth? I'll explain the difference to you as quickly as possible. So a value is something that can be commercially measured. इसका मतलब है मैं इसको रुपए में measure कर सकता हूँ. I can say the value is 200 rupees, the value is 300 rupees. Versus when you say worth, it is imaginary. So when I say the worth of an object is 300 rupees, I mean its intrinsic value is 300 rupees. What do I mean by intrinsic value? Again, these are a lot of important economic terms which you have to understand. Worth, when I say intrinsic value, I mean what it should actually be worth. So there are certain few factors which influence worth, which means how much should a product actually be worth. So when I take the example of an iPhone, let's say, the value of an iPhone is often reduced when a new model is launched. So let's say iPhone 12 purana tha and iPhone 13 is being launched, then the price of the iPhone 12 will be reduced. And what is that price? That is the value. Whereas in reality, an iPhone is worth a lot more. Let's say the price is reduced to say some 50,000. In reality, the iPhone 12 might be worth 80,000 or something of that sort. It can be, so that is the intrinsic value. That is how well can I utilize the substance. That determines the intrinsic value of the substance, and hence that determines the worth. How much should it actually cost? And that is worth. So worth is, again, it is imaginary. Value is on paper. So when you say something is overpriced, when I say something is overpriced, I mean its value is much higher than its worth. When I say something is underpriced, then I mean the value is a lot less than the worth. So that's the concept between value and worth. दोनों में difference क्या होता है? So value is completely on paper, it's completely practical, whereas worth is imaginary, it's sort of imaginary. So these are the two factors which we spoke about: value and utility. These make any substance a resource. A substance with value and utility is a resource. Utility in the sense, how well can I use it? Value in the sense, what is its commercial value? Can I sell it in the market to make money out of it? So that is the concept of what makes a resource. Next, we have to look at the concept of types. When we talk about types of resources, we can classify them in based on two various factors. One of them is renewability. The other is how is it being produced / source. So when I talk about renewability, there are two types of resources. One is renewable, the other is non-renewable. Now what does the term renewable mean? If you pay close attention to the word, it actually means renew plus able. When you say able or able, it means that it can do that. So what does renew mean? Re plus new. So you can bring or create a new thing again. So that is the concept of renewability. So when I talk about solar energy, why do I say solar energy is renewable? Because it does not end. I can generate new solar energy whenever I want. Because it's endless. I can generate new solar energy whenever I want. Whereas when I talk about hydroelectricity, let's say, water does not go on forever. Water has a limit. So hydroelectricity is electricity powered by water. So there's only a certain amount of water on earth. So that means the flowing of this water is producing my electricity. So it is non-renewable. That means I cannot generate new water whenever I want. It always depends on the amount of water that is left. So that is the concept of renewable and non-renewable. So renewable energies include solar, wind, etc. Non-renewable are basically everything else that we use, mainly fossil fuels. Now, this will be covered in the next 2 or 3 chapters as well, so I won't spoil it too much. But basically, when we talk about fossil fuels, look at the term again in geography. The key is you look at the term, split it. Fossil fuels. So what does that tell us? It is a fuel which is in the form of a fossil. What is a fossil? It is something that decayed over the span of a large amount of years, and hence that is working as a fuel for us. So that is a fossil fuel, basically coal, petroleum. Both of these are called fossil fuels. So non-renewable energy and renewable energy. Next is, what is the source of how we are producing these resources? When we talk about the sources, there are man-made, that is human-made. You don't say man-made, but you say human-made. Human-made resources and natural resources. Natural resources are everything available in the nature. Light, wind, fire, all of these different types of energies and resources are found in the nature. When you mine for stones, you find rubies, sapphires, diamonds, gold. All of this comes under natural resources because they are naturally present in the environment. But when we talk about man-made resources, these are things that have been invented, human-made resources, sorry. When you say human-made resources, these are resources invented by people. People have invented these resources, and hence you call it human-made resources. Whereas natural resources, yeah, you have them naturally available in the world. So what are human-made resources? Human-made resource. So I'll tell you a few examples of human-made resources. So the best example is people. Humans themselves are a human-made resource. Why are humans a resource? Well, we're going to look into that. We'll look at that. In a while. But before that, I want to give you a few examples. So technology, things which we've made. So we found metal chips, we had electricity. We put all of those together and we made technology. So technology is also a resource, but technology is a human-made resource. Now, remember examples are basically human-made resources are those made by humans using natural resources. So things like buildings, homes, technology, all of these things are human-made resources. Now, remember when I said humans themselves are a human-made resource. Now, what do I mean by that? Why are humans even considered a resource? Why are humans a resource? This is an important question. So I'll give you the textbook answer and then I'll explain what it means. Okay. Humans are resource. Humans are a resource because they have the knowledge and the enterprise to to utilize any resource to its topmost quality. So what do I mean by that? Humans are the only creatures on earth which have immense knowledge. The knowledge we have, no one else has. We are the only ones who are actually studying nature, and that is geography, right? We are studying nature. We are the only ones who have subjects like geography, civics, politics. So it tells us that humans have a lot of knowledge, and hence they can use this knowledge to make any resource highly valuable. So, for example, I have sand, let's say. Sand is a resource, but can I use sand directly in anything? No. Through a process, we've converted sand into glass, let's say. And glass has high utility. Glass has commercial value and utility, and hence it becomes a resource. So, even a substance like sand, which often seems useless, humans can use the knowledge to turn it into glass, which has utility and value. So, humans can add utility and value to any substance. Humans can add utility and value. Next, what do I mean by enterprise? Enterprise is sort of how do you market things basically. That is what enterprise is. It's a bit of a complex term, but all you have to understand is they have the knowledge. Enterprise is more, also you can describe it as skill. So the difference between skill and knowledge is the thought, whereas skill is the application of a thought. So any skill, actually knowledge often uses skill, but skill does not require knowledge. What do I mean by that? Let's take the job of a barber, let's say. Do you think they have knowledge? When I say knowledge again, I mean only a specific set of thoughts which come under knowledge. Obviously not. All they need is experience to learn their job. And hence, they have developed a skill through experience. So skills don't always need knowledge. So that is what enterprise is. And enterprise is basically skill. So they have the knowledge and skill or enterprise to add utility and value to any substance. It can add utility and value to make any substance a resource. So that is the concept of how humans are a resource. Now, we'll look at the final topic in this chapter. And again, this is a very small chapter, so no need to worry. It's an easy chapter and a very small one, but you have to remember the objectives very well. So the final topic that we were talking about was the conservation of resources. When we looked at the types of resources, we have non-renewable and renewable sources of energy. Non-renewable could not be non-renewable sources are those which cannot be made again, and so they're called non-renewable. So non-renewable energy or non-renewable resources deplete over a period of time. They end. They are not unlimited. They are not completely abundant like renewable energy. They are not like sunlight, which always comes. They are not like light. They are not like wind, which always keep flowing. After we use them to a certain extent, then they will end. So when these non-renewable resources are used to their maximum potent, they will get depleted, and that is the concept. We have to conserve and save these resources because we will need them at some point in time. So what are the two ways we can do this? We can either reduce the consumption of these, or we can switch to completely renewable resources. The problem with renewable resources, however, are they are extremely expensive, and that is what we are going to see here when we talk about conserving resources. So there are a few definitions here, all of which are extremely important. Turn to page number 4. Using resources carefully and giving them time to get renewed is called resource conservation. Using resources carefully and giving them time giving them time to renew is called conservation of resources. Balancing the need to use resources and also conserve them for our future is called sustainable development. So what is sustainable development? In sustainable development, you use resources, you first of all, what you do is you conserve them. Along with conservation, what you do is you balance the need. So which resources do I actually need? Now for example, after I finish shooting this video, I'll go out and probably have dinner. Will I need to turn this ring light on? Will I need to keep this phone here? Will I need to use all of this electricity in the room? Absolutely not. And so in cases like that, we have to balance our need. We have to choose at which points in time, which resources are important, and only those resources must be used. Because if I'm having dinner on the dining table, I don't need these lights in this room, do I? So that is the concept of balancing the use of resources. So that is pretty much the chapter. I encourage all of you to give the textbook a thorough reading, because there are a lot of definitions in this chapter which have to be remembered very well. Okay. So what were the three things we looked at in this chapter? First, we looked at what makes any substance a resource. Second, we looked at the types of resources, where we classified them based on who makes them. Is it either nature or human beings? And we classified them based on renewability. And finally, we looked at resource conservation, that how non-renewable energy and resources can often, not often, they can get depleted over a period of time. And so these are the three things we looked at in this chapter. And as I always say, I hope you understood the concept. And if you have any doubts, please let me know through the comment section. Okay. And I will be opening, as I say, I'll be opening a few social media pages in a while, where you can post all of your questions and doubts, and I'll keep answering them over there. But till then, if you have any doubts, post them in the comment section. And if you have any feedback, corrections, rectifications, please do share them with me. And so I'll see you in the next chapter of geography. Thank you. So if you enjoyed the video, then please make sure to like and subscribe and click the bell icon to remain notified. If you know someone who is interested in videos like these, then please do share these videos with them. And I'll see you in the next one.